Okay, let's dive right in. We're looking at a pretty big challenge today, a really urgent one for a lot of developed countries.
We really are. It's this whole issue around public pensions, their sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, you see the headlines, populations getting older, not as many kids being born, and just constant pressure on government money.
Exactly. And all that together threatens the ability of these traditional systems to, well, provide a decent retirement for people down the line.
It feels like a fundamental problem for the 21st century, doesn't it?
It really is. That old pay-as-you-go model where today's workers basically fund today's retirees, it's creaking under the strain, especially somewhere like Germany.
Which brings us to this German proposal we're digging into. It sounds quite ambitious.
Oh, definitely. They're trying a major shift here, moving away from almost total reliance on the state towards something more like a partnership, a system built on individual savings, starting right from, well, childhood.
Right, so it's not just tweaking the existing system, it's adding a whole new layer.
Precisely. And our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack how they're planning to do it. It's this interesting mix of social policy, tax breaks, and a big focus on education.
Yeah, try and build a culture of thinking long-term, financially speaking, right from the start.
That's the idea. And the whole program seems to stand on four main pillars, four key goals.
Okay, let's tick them off first.
Fostering individual financial responsibility. That's the big one. Shifting the mindset, complementing state solidarity with, personal capitalization.
Got it. Makes sense. Second pillar.
Combating old age poverty. This is crucial. By giving people another source of retirement income, it reduces the risk if the state pension alone isn't quite enough in the future.
So a safety net, but one you build yourself, partly.
Kind of, yeah, with some state help, which we'll get into. The third goal is democratizing access to investing.
Breaking down those barriers. The feeling that investing is complicated or expensive or just not for normal people.
Exactly, making it accessible. And the fourth pillar, which I think is maybe the most innovative part,
You on?
inculcating practical financial education, starting really young, using the savings account itself as a teaching tool.
Okay, that is interesting. So let's dig into the how. The whole financial idea behind this seems to hinge on one core principle, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It all comes down to the power of compound interest. Money making money, which then makes more money. Einstein supposedly called it the most powerful force in the universe.
Maybe he did. And it's all about time, isn't it? The earlier you start, the better.
Massively better. The time advantage is just enormous. All the studies show it.
Like the examples comparing starting at 25 versus 35.
If you start saving at 25, you need to put away a much smaller chunk of your income each month to hit the same retirement goal as someone who waits just 10 years until 35. Sometimes it's like 30, even 50% less effort needed.
Wow.
And if you push that start date all the way back to birth, well, the effect just multiplies like crazy. It's exponential growth in action.
There's a specific number in the source material that really illustrates this, the one about a single 1,000 euro deposit.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. So assuming a pretty conservative 5% annual return after inflation, a single 1,000 euro put in when a child is born could grow to over 7,000 euros by the time they reach 65.
7,000 euros from just one initial 1,000, with no more money added.
That's right. Zero additional contributions. A 7-fold return, purely from time and compounding. Now, imagine if the family adds even small amounts regularly over the years.
The final amount would be huge, life-changing, potentially.
Absolutely. That early start, that time, it's the most valuable asset a young person has, financially speaking. You can't get it back once it's gone. And this whole German plan is basically designed to make sure every single child gets to use that asset.
Okay, so time is the magic ingredient. But how do they actually structure this? And crucially, how do they make it fair? Because obviously not every family can afford to put money aside, especially early on.
That's the million-euro question, isn't it? The policy challenge. The main tool they're proposing is this child account for retirement, the Kinderrentenkonto.
Okay.
Think of it as a long-term investment account, but with special protections and a really important tax advantage.
Similar to existing German retirement plans, like the Riesterrente.
Exactly like that model. The key thing is tax deferral.
Meaning, what does that mean for the person saving?
It means all the growth inside the account, the capital gains, the dividends, any interest earned over maybe 60, 65 years, none of it gets taxed year after year.
So the tax only hits when you finally take the money out in retirement.
Precisely. That lets the entire amount compound without tax chipping away at it annually. It's like giving the growth a turbo boost over that long period.
That's definitely a strong reason to keep it invested long term. What about how the money's invested? 65 years is a long time horizon. It needs to be simple, safe-ish.
Right. The plan seems to be focused on stability and maximizing that long-term growth. The sources suggest it would be automatically invested in very low-cost, globally diversified index funds.
Like ETFs, exchange-traded funds.
Exactly. Tracking major world markets. That approach gives you broad diversification, keeps fees incredibly low, and basically gets rid of the risk of picking the wrong individual stock. It's pretty much the standard advice for long-term, hands-off investing.
Okay, that makes sense. But back to the fairness question. How do they ensure this isn't just another benefit for families who are already comfortable?
This is where the state steps in directly. The mechanism is called the zulaj, which basically means a state matching contribution or grant.
So the government adds money too.
Yes. The idea is that the state would supplement whatever the family contributes. It might be a percentage match, or maybe a fixed amount each year, and crucially, it's designed specifically to help lower-income families participate fully. Well, if a family can only manage to put in, say, 50 euros a year, the zulaj would kick in and add a significant amount on top. That ensures their child still builds up a meaningful base for compounding, even if the family's own contributions are small. It's about leveling the playing field right from the start.
Trying to prevent it from just widening the wealth gap.
Exactly. It's a core part of the social justice angle of the whole proposal.
And they've set some pretty ambitious targets linked to this, haven't they, in terms of how many kids they want participating?
They have. Really ambitious. They're not just launching it and hoping for the best. The goal mentioned is getting over 70% of all kids and teenagers under 18 signed up with an active account within the next decade.
70%. That's huge. You'd absolutely need that state zulaj to get anywhere near that number, surely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
That state support is key to driving mass adoption.
And there's another target linked directly to education, right? Getting financial literacy into schools.
Yes. They want to get modules on financial education and social provision, basically retirement planning, integrated into the standard school curriculum in all the federal states. And they want that done by the end of the current legislative period.
Which makes total sense. You can give people the tools, like this account.
But if they don't understand how it works or why it matters, it's not going to be nearly as effective. You need both pieces.
Which brings us back to that educational aspect you mentioned earlier. You said it was maybe the most innovative part, that this isn't just an account, it's a teaching tool itself.
Yeah, I think this is where it gets really clever. It's designed around learning by doing. The plan actually requires linking the account itself to some kind of structured educational program.
So not just abstract lessons about money in a classroom.
No, much more direct. Students would literally learn by looking at their own account statements, seeing their own money grow or sometimes dip over time.
Following their own investments.
Exactly. They'd learn to read the statement, understand what diversification means in their portfolio, see the impact of fees on their balance, maybe understand what dividends are when they appear.
Wow, so concepts like risk and reward, market volatility, they wouldn't just be words in a textbook.
They'd be real. They'd see the market go up and down over a year and hopefully understand it's normal for long-term growth, not something to panic about. It makes it tangible, personal.
I can see how that would stick much better than a dry lesson. Does research back that up, that practical, personal application helps learning?
Overwhelmingly. Pedagogical research consistently shows that when you apply theory to something personal and concrete, like your own future financial security, you understand it better and you remember it longer.
Right.
Much more effective than abstract examples.
So the knowledge compounds along with the money.
That's a great way to put it. It builds financial literacy and hopefully good habits from a really early age. By the time these kids start working, the idea is they'll already be financially savvy, or at least comfortable with these concepts.
It sounds powerful. But is Germany the first country to try something like this? Are there other international examples we can look at?
It's not entirely out of the blue, no. There are some interesting parallels and sort of precedents elsewhere.
Like where?
Well, the UK is often mentioned. They had the Child Trust Fund initially, where the government gave every newborn a starting voucher. That evolved into the Junior IS, a tax-efficient savings account for kids, which is still very popular. So there's experience with state-seeded early savings.
Okay, the UK. Anyone else?
Canada's a good example, too. Their Registered Education Savings Plan, the RESP, is focused on saving for education, not retirement, but the model is similar. Families contribute, and the government adds generous grants. It's been very successful in encouraging savings for education.
So government matching driving uptake. We see that again.
Yes. And then you have places like Singapore with their CPF system. That's a bit different because it's compulsory savings for retirement
Yeah.
based on individual accounts from the start of your working life. It's fostered a really strong national savings culture there.
And what do broader international bodies like the OECD say about this kind of approach? Early savings, financial education.
They're generally very supportive. OECD research often highlights that countries with better financial literacy and easier access to good savings products tend to have populations that are better prepared for retirement.
And less worried about money generally.
Exactly. Lower levels of financial anxiety seem to correlate with higher financial literacy and access to savings tools. It makes intuitive sense.
Okay, so there's international precedent, research support, but this is still a huge undertaking for Germany. What are the big hurdles, the risks they need to manage?
Oh, there are definitely significant challenges. It's a massive experiment, really. First off, you have market risk.
Right. Investments can go down as well as up.
Precisely. Even over 65 years, returns aren't guaranteed. The government has a tricky communication job. Promote the benefits of long-term equity investing, but also be honest that there's no guarantee, and capital isn't completely risk-free. Managing expectations is key.
Especially with kids' futures involved. What else?
The public funding aspect is huge. That Zulaj, the state contribution, they need to ensure they can actually afford it year after year, even during economic downturns or recessions.
Yeah, you can't promise that level of support to 70% of kids and then pull it back when times get tough. That would be a disaster.
Politically and socially, yes. It needs to be sustainable and crisis-proof. Then there's just the sheer complexity of rolling out a program like this for millions of
The
children.
administration keeping costs low.
Exactly. To hit that 70% adoption target, it has to be incredibly simple, automatic if possible, low cost, and transparent. If it's complicated or bureaucratic, people just won't bother, or only the already financially savvy will sign up, defeating the purpose.
And regulations, protecting these accounts.
Absolutely critical. You're talking about decades of savings for minors. You need ironclad rules to protect against fraud, excessive fees from providers, bad investment practices, anything that could chip away at those long-term returns. Trust is paramount.
Okay, so summing up, it feels like a really pragmatic, maybe even necessary vision from Germany. It's trying to engineer a big cultural shift, isn't it?
I think so. Moving away from just relying on the state towards citizens taking more co-responsibility for their future, but with the state actively helping them do it and harnessing that incredible power of time.
Leveraging time as a national asset almost.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. It's a major social experiment. If they can pull it off fairly and effectively, it really could be a blueprint for other countries facing these same demographic and pension pressures.
That existential challenge you mentioned at the start of ensuring a dignified retirement for future generations when resources are tight.
Exactly. This is one potential path towards building more resilience into the whole system.
So we've talked a lot about time being the most valuable asset here financially, but the sources also really stress the knowledge gained through that educational piece. If learning about finance early is maybe the most innovative, long-lasting benefit, it leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it?
What's that?
Well, if this early financial education is so valuable, what's the real cost, the hidden cost to society of delaying it? Of waiting until people are adults, maybe already in debt or struggling, before we teach them these essential life skills?